everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to talk a little bit about the amount of money I spent because I live here in Norway, so my expenses in Norway, which are very different from the ones I would have if I would live in my home country, that is Portugal. And since this is a very requested video from you guys, I think is the most requested video I had in my channel, I hope you guys are happy. And yeah, I also want to mention that I am going to talk about myself, so what I spent in my situation. Everyone is different and decide to spend their money in different things or different amounts or have a different situation than the one I have. So this is more like an example so you guys can understand more or less. So I hope this is helpful. Let's start with the basics, and that is the place where I live and what I pay for rent. I live in a family apartment for students, so it's kind of like a student housing but for families. So I had to prove I was in a long-lasting relationship, or I could come here with my sister, I could be married, I could have kids, and in this way I could live here. Of course it's less expensive to live here than in a normal apartment, although it's not that much less expensive. Although I know people that have even a bigger house than me, with more or less the same rent than me in the city center. So I think you just have to be lucky and search. Okay, I'll get to the point. And I spent 10,000 kroners per month in rent. Of course this is divided by 2 because I live with my boyfriend. Then we also pay electricity, more or less 400 kroner per month divided by 2, so I pay 200 kroner myself. This really depends on where you're living. For example, here it is a kind of a fixed price because we share the electricity with the whole building. But for example, where we lived before, we would pay depending on the amount of electricity we would spend, and that would vary. Of course, in summer it would be much cheaper, but in winter it was more or less like 300 kroners or 400 kroners. We also pay internet, and we pay around 100 kroners per month to have, I can search and I will leave in a description box the amount, like how fast is our internet in relation to what we pay, just so you have a notion, because I don't know. Another thing that people usually spend money on is on like transportation. I have my own bicycle, which I bought second-handed when I arrived to Oslo, and I paid 1,500 kroners for it, if I'm not mistaken. It's quite an old bike, but it never gave me problems and it works fine, it goes everywhere, and it's alive for 3 years now, so I guess it was a good deal. The really good deal here is actually having a bike, because I could go everywhere with my bike, especially inside of the city center. It's not that difficult. When it snows, I walk, or in some cases I take the tram or some kind of bus or something. So the bus ticket, like for 1 hour, bus, tram, metro, underground, yeah, everything inside the city, for 1 hour it costs 32 kroners. And the monthly pass costs around 700 kroners, which is absolutely crazy. For students there is a cheaper monthly pass. I'm not really sure how much it is, but I guess it's half of the 700, but I'm not sure. Then of course I spend money on food by going to the supermarket and all of that, and that changes a lot depending on the month, but I could say it's around 700 kroners, just me, so just myself. And believe me, I buy good food, I buy good products, I try to vary a lot. I buy fruit, I make desserts, as you know, I buy fish, I buy meat, everything. But I tend to get away from all the expensive products because, as you guys might know, Norway is very expensive in terms of food and supermarket. So if you want like a beef or other kind of like good meat, then it is very expensive. Regarding fish, I buy a lot of salmon and bacalhau, this is codfish, but I don't buy them like the whole fish as you would see in Portugal, going to the market and buy the fish fresh and all of this. I don't do this here because one, it doesn't really exist, and two, if it exists, it's crazy expensive. And I have to say that I don't spend money on my lunches during the week because I have lunch at work, so that is a great plus as well. Then of course at least once a month we go to a restaurant. Restaurants here are also very expensive, and I would say that for like a main course and a Coca-Cola you would spend 200 kroners in the cheapest restaurants you could find. So we try to go just once in a while. Normally it's once or twice maximum in 1 month, and stop there because it can be quite expensive, especially if you ask for like an alcoholic drink or dessert with it. If we want to talk about going out like in the evenings or during the nights to go to a disco or to a bar, I don't do that a lot, and when I do it I tend to go to places that have free entrance, so I don't spend crazy amounts of money. I would say that here in Norway, in a bar, asking for a beer, it will cost you in general maybe 80 kroners, 90 kroners, 100 kroners. I don't think you can get them cheaper than 80 kroners or 70 kroners minimum. If you know some place that you can get a pint for 70 kroners, then that's a really good deal basically. Also, this is not my case, but if you smoke, then you would also spend a lot of money, because on average 1 pack of tobacco will cost you around 120 kroners, which is like 80% more than in other places in Europe. Then you also have to think that you might need to go to the doctor in certain months, and a normal appointment on your family doctor will cost you around 200 kroners to 300 kroners, depending on what you do, of course. I also pay the semester fee for my university. Here in Norway, universities are basically free. They are free. I pay 800 kroners per semester, which I think is very cheap, or nothing. It's free basically. So I can say that in the end of the month I would spend at least 6,500 kroners. Of course, it's always more than this, because you buy this, you buy that, maybe you travel. Of course it's more, but like with the basic stuff, 6,500 is a good number. Oh, and of course I have to talk about my salary, because as you guys probably know, I work here in Norway as a part-time, but since I think this is a little bit more personal and I wouldn't like to reveal here my salary like this, I would say that I receive more or less 150 kroners per hour, and do not forget I work part-time and not 50%, less than that. Also important, for my salary I pay 7% of taxes, so as you can imagine it's a very like low salary, because I only have to pay 7%, but still it takes a big lump of my salary. But yeah, at the end what I feel is like, if you have a proper job in Norway where you receive a proper Norwegian salary and you work the 100%, then you would be fine living here, especially if you share your life with a loved one or a family member and you can split the costs, then it's even better. That's very smart. I think these are the main topics in general. Of course you have other things, you have the dentist, you have hairdresser. If you go out, I don't know, in a weekend trip or something, it will be expensive, of course. If you rent a car, it will be expensive. If you have a car, it will be expensive. There are many more things to talk about. So if you want a video more detailed on certain topics, let me know in the comments. Let me know which type of topics you want me to talk about regarding money. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it was helpful. I'll see you guys next week with another video. Bye!